S20 Fan Edition impressed masses, and to replace this device, Samsung brought the S21 Fan Edition just 3 weeks back. We have both these phones up against each other today. If you are watching my channel for the first time, it would be highly appreciated if you can subscribe, and the like target for this video is just 1000 likes. The S21 Fan Edition's price is something that the users are unable to absorb so far. The S21 Fan Edition is launched at a price of about $100 higher than the S20 Fan Edition, and a lot of users are still contemplating whether or not they should buy the successor or stick to the predecessor instead. This comparison breaks it all down to make it super easy for you. When it comes to the design and the build, the S20 Fan Edition had the DNA of the S20 lineup. The S21 Fan Edition has a DNA of the S21 lineup. That means the S20 Fan Edition is bulkier, heavier, and does look old. The S21 Fan Edition, on the other hand, is super thin, lightweight, and has a much better form factor. Both phones have the IP68 water and dust resistance, wireless charging and wireless power share, dual stereo speakers, etc. But some similarities do not mean that the S20 Fan Edition is still a great choice. The addition of Gorilla Glass Victus to the front of the S21 Fan Edition puts it miles ahead of the S20 Fan Edition's Gorilla Glass 3 on the front. In the design and the build department, the S21 Fan Edition, in my opinion, clearly wins. And yeah, not to forget, the S21 Fan Edition doesn't have a microSD card slot. The S20 Fan Edition storage can be expanded up to 1TB via its microSD card slot. Both phones lack the headphone jack. Moving on to the displays, apparently both phones have a 6.4 and 6.5 inch screens. Both screens are 120Hz and both are AMOLED. But the S20 FE is using older Super AMOLED panel, peaking at about 800 nits of brightness, while the S21 Fan Edition is using a new dynamic AMOLED 2X panel with its brightness peaking at about 1200 nits. Punch hole of the S21 Fan Edition is big and more noticeable than the S20 Fan Edition. Touch responsiveness of both the screens is equally good. The brightness, however, is a factor you should always consider while choosing one between these two. At the moment, the brightness on both screens is set at max. Just yesterday when I was filming the camera comparison of these phones, I was unable to view the elements on the S20 Fan Edition outdoor in broad daylight, while the S21 Fan Edition kept everything super lit on its screen. The brightness difference is visible indoors too, especially when you are using both these phones side by side. Colors and contrast on both screens are equally good, only the brightness is a concern. S20 FE was recently updated to the Android 12 One UI 4. The S21 FE brings the One UI 4 right out of the box. In terms of future software updates, the S21 FE will go all the way up to Android 15, while the S20 FE's updates will end at Android 14. The software features on both phones are the same. You get wireless text, nearby share, quick share, dark mode, a flagship grade camera application on both sides. There are barely any differences here. The software experience, responsiveness, animations are also the same across the board. Samsung has added the Exynos 2100 or the Snapdragon 888 to the S21 Fan Edition. Mine is with the Exynos 2100, and the S20 Fan Edition in this video is using the Snapdragon 865 chipset. Both phones are using a RAM of 8GB. I have conducted multiple benchmark tests and I will show you the Antutu benchmark scores. First of all, the S21 Fan Edition is way ahead. The S20 Fan Edition also takes a hit for the Geekbench scores. And now lastly, the 3D Mark Wildlife Stress Test scores are also on your screen to give you an idea about the gaming performance of these phones. I also conducted a small speed test where I rendered some 4K video clips starting off with the Premiere Rush application. I used the same clips on both the sides and applied same effects. Surprisingly, the S20 Fan Edition took the lead right from the start, and it was a couple of seconds faster than the S21 Fan Edition for the 4K video rendering. I went ahead and used a same video clip in the Viva video application. This time I exported it in the 720p resolution, and once again the S20 Fan Edition was ahead here. However, the results were opposite in the photo editing test. First, I edited the same photo in the Lightroom application. Here, the S21 FE edition was a split second ahead, and then I did the same in the Snapseed application. The S21 FE edition took the lead here too. After this, I loaded a few games, starting off with the PUBG Mobile. The S21 FE edition loaded the PUBG Mobile faster. Call of Duty Mobile also loaded on the S21 FE edition 5G faster. The S20 FE edition won for the Asphalt 9 game. I also conducted a small RAM management test, and the S21 FE edition's RAM management is miles ahead of the Samsung Galaxy S20 FE edition. I am sure if we put the Snapdragon S21 FE edition next to the Snapdragon S20 FE edition, that will win all of these speed tests. Let's move forward now. Taking a look into the camera application gives us a similar experience. Both camera apps are flagship grade, like I said before. You get top-notch video recording feature, super slow-mo with motion detection feature. Pro mode offers RAW support, Video Pro mode offers 1080p videos at 120 frames per second. Video recording goes all the way up to 4K at 60 frames per second for both its front and rear cameras. Two things that help the S21 FE edition lead the way include the 3x portrait mode for the rear camera and the different selfie color tone options. While we are talking about the camera app, let me just quickly give you the camera hardware details, and let's take a look at the camera samples as well, starting off with the selfie videos shot on both the phones. Okay, first of all, this is the Full HD 60 frames per second, the 1080p at 60 fps video from both the phones. I am holding both the phones on the same tripod, and I hope the camera angle is good enough for you guys. Remember that for these front camera videos, as always, you guys have to be the judge, and let me know which phone's stability and overall video result do you like more. After this, we'll switch to the other resolutions of this front camera. Okay, this one now is 4K at 30 frames per second video from the front cameras of both these phones, S21 FE edition and the S20 FE edition. I have my nieces behind me because my nieces pose very well for my camera samples, as you guys know, and it's a very broad day outside today, and you can see that the sun is pretty good. And now this one is 4K at 60 frames per second video from the front cameras of both the phones. The only difference that I can see here is that the S21 FE edition has a slightly cooler color tone, and its camera sensor is slightly cropped in as compared to the camera sensor of the S20 FE edition. The result overall looks pretty good because right now I'm watching this on the smaller screen, and this is the only reason I say that you guys have to be the judge for this kind of videos. On both the phones we have the pause option for the videos, and on both the phones we can switch between the front and the rear cameras while recording a video. After this, we'll move to other parts of this detailed comparison between the S21 FE edition and the S20 FE edition. Make sure that you guys have subscribed and do hit the like button if you find this video useful. Let's move on to the other parts now. Both phones offer similar video resolution options for both the cameras. Like I said before, you can record ultra-wide videos in 30 frames per second in both the 1080p and 4K resolutions. However, the ultra-wide 60 frames per second option is missing. You do have the option to record 1080p and 4K 60 fps normal videos Cameras on both phones are optically stabilized. The stabilization is pretty good. It's not up to the flagship mark, but it is still pretty nice to have it. The main difference here is in the color tone. In the videos, the S20 Fan Edition has a warm color tone. The S21 Fan Edition looks cool. Resolution and overall details look the same. Enjoy these videos and I'll catch you with the images in a bit. Ultra-wide images look good on both the sides. The few basic differences include a slightly warmer tone on the S20 Fan Edition. I find the details slightly better on the S21 Fan Edition. The shadows are slightly darker on the S20 FE. Sky is more blue on the S20 FE. In the normal image, the sky is once again more bluish on the S20 FE. I once again find the details slightly higher on the S21 FE. This time the image of the S21 FE has higher saturation. The S20 FE has slightly warmer tone with that unnoticeable greenish tint over it. Let me know which phone's colors look better to you, and by the way, keep in mind that this difference in the color tone is because of the ISP of these phones. Exynos chipsets usually produce a warmer tone, and that's why the S21 FE will give you a warmer tone in its normal camera mode. The S20 FE will have a cool color tone in its normal camera mode. As you can see, this lens flare caused by the sun looks more whitish or bluish on the S20 FE, and it's definitely warm on the S21 FE, and this also sets the color tone of this whole image. Let me show you the human subject photos now. The images clearly have a different look mainly because of the color tone. I like the saturation more on the S21 FE. The S20 FE honestly isn't taking bad photos. The portrait mode is on your screen. It's equally good on both the sides. I usually prefer cool color tone, but color tone is kind of a personal preference, so you can choose the one you like more. The good thing about the S21 FE is that it can take 3x portrait images. The S20 FE lacks this option, so if you're into those 3x portraits, the S21 FE is the one you want. Here is another set of ultra-wide and normal images. The ultra-wide result of the S21 FE looks better to me. I find the dynamic range on the S21 FE better. It's managing the shadows better than the S20 FE. S20 FE, I think, darkens the shadows. The normal mode images look equally good on both the sides, but again, look at the eyes of my nieces. The eyes appear very dark on the S20 FE. It looks like the S21 FE has more vibrant image. The portrait mode comparison again, if you look closely, the S21 FE has a better edge detection. The color of the shirts gives you a clear idea of the overall contrast once again. Now this is a 3x image from the S21 FE, and on the S20 FE, I have manually cropped into a 1x image on the S20 FE. This is just to give you an idea of how the 3x real zoom works and how a cropped in photo looks. Do share your thoughts about this in the comments. A number of ultra-wide and wide images will now appear on your screen. It's very easy to tell the differences here. I like the cool color tone of the S21 FE in the ultra-wide mode once again. Its saturation is better, its details are also better, but that doesn't mean the S20 FE is not holding up well. The S20 FE, being a year-old device, does a pretty nice job. And by the way, do tell me if you think the S20 FE's camera quality has been downgraded in your opinion. I don't find its photos bad. Look at the floor in this ultra-wide photo. Saturation again is too high on the S21 FE and the sky looks dull on it. The warm image on the S20 FE is keeping the sky blue and floor doesn't look red on it. The real colors are coming out of the S20 FE for this particular image. And this is what we get when we switch to the normal camera here. The difference this time is minute. You will now see some more ultra-wide and normal images both in the outdoor and indoor modes. After that, we will take a look at the rear camera's normal mode images. Right now you are seeing a 10x image on both sides. The 10x zoom looks much better on the S20 FE. This is also where Samsung needs to apply some sort of patches to the S21 FE's camera and fix its 10x zoom result. Coming your way is a collection of the rear camera normal mode images outdoor in the broad daylight and also the indoor images. At times, the S21 FE takes better photos and the S20 FE does a better job sometimes. All the images coming up are for you guys to analyze. Watch these images with full attention and drop your own thoughts and analysis in the comments below. I'll see you in a minute with the night mode and the low light photos. Okay, so hot take. The S20 FE takes better low light images when its night mode is not in use. Believe it or not, you can see it on your screen as well. And I was also shocked at first. But it is what it is. Samsung needs to fix the low light and night mode performance of the S21 FE. The S20 FE does have a greenish tint over its night mode photos and I think that needs to be fixed as well. The night mode of S21 FE works pretty well, but the low light is where work has to be done. I just wish the low light and night mode of these sub-flagship devices catch up to the true flagship devices someday. It's time to take a look at the selfies now. I used the natural color tone on the S21 FE and original on the S20 FE. The selfie color tone options are not the same on both the phones. The result is on your screen. S21 FE selfies look more sharp. S20 FE has overall soft selfies. The edge detection on both sides is equally good and slightly better on the S21 FE in my opinion. Details look equally good on both the sides. You can definitely make the images more sharp or soft by changing the beauty effect on both the sides, but these images are being shot using the out of the box settings. Selfie color tone is more of a personal preference and I would like to hear you guys out regarding which phone selfies look better to you. I personally like them on both the devices. My skin has a pinkish and a glowing effect on the S20 FE and that's what most users are gonna like, I guess. But anyways, drop your own thoughts below too, and with this our camera comparison and in fact this entire comparison comes to an end and it's time for the conclusion. Alright, for $699 you get the S21 Fan Edition with a much better build. You do get upgraded cameras and the display, well, it definitely speaks for it. the display of the Samsung S21 Fan Edition is much better than the display of the Samsung Galaxy S20 Fan Edition. But the S20 Fan Edition's price should have gone further down. That makes the S20 Fan Edition a much more value for money product. If you pick up the Samsung Galaxy S20 Fan Edition now, I think it will easily last for next 2 years and it's not a bad phone at all. But if you do have the budget, I definitely recommend going ahead and pick up the Galaxy S21 Fan Edition, or if it seems too expensive to you right now, I recommend waiting it out for just a couple of months and pick up the Galaxy S21 Fan Edition once its price drops down. That's all from my end. If you think that there is something that you need to add to this video, make sure that you drop it in the comments below. Also, hit the subscribe button if you haven't done that yet. Like this video. With that being said, I will sign off and see you all in the next one.